2017 was gonna end with Brilliant Bob the whole time. The whole time we were gonna play Brilliant Bob. Brilliant Bob is the best game ever. It's also one of a kind now because you can't buy it on Steam anymore. Since you can't see it, since it blends in with the green screen, I just finished off my drink.
I can tell, I can hear.
Brilliant Bob, Spookfest 27. 17. Spookfest! Whee! Spookfest.
Jesus Christ.
You guys like Brilliant Bob?
No, it depends on the day.
You know, I feel like testing this would have helped.
I did test it.
You didn't test it thoroughly.
What do you want me to do? Spoil the ending of fucking Spookfest live? Fucking months before it happens? By going live?
Yes! There's literally no plot to Dot Flow. There was no plot to Yumaniki.
No.
It was all freeform interpretation.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like, you wanted me to go live with the final game that we're gonna play for Spookfest and spoil it for the viewers that we were gonna play that last.
Yes.
And all you could do is just fucking eat Cheetos and mock me.
It's Lay's barbecue flavored size chips.
Sorry, I cannot differentiate your fucking crunches. Doesn't matter, the true game was fucking Brilliant Bob all around. We got the bad ending for Spookfest.
You didn't stream enough.
Probably fucking 4 times more hours than last year is not enough.
We're playing on New Game Plus mode. You gotta try twice as hard.
I mean, that would be 4 times as hard if you want to go by that logic.
I kind of want to drink more, but like I've already gone half through this bottle of gin.
Chug, chug, chug.
No, my throat actually kind of burns.
Alan Chlamydia part +3 of it for Barry. 1 win on. What is with this text to speech on your stream?
There actually is a spooky level of Brilliant Bob that I've never seen before. That I kind of want to see. Fucking goddamn whiplash.
Can you please stop
Oh no.
No.
Animal crackers in my soup.
Something, something else. The loop, the loop.
Do you have any idea how long I waited?
Yeah. Why does that taste like Fruit Loops? Speaking of which, I actually saw vodka-infused Fruit Loops the other day. Alright, fuck Brilliant Bob. What are we doing?
Darkwood.
You want me to play Darkwood?
I
Yeah!
want you to play the anime dating sim.
Fuck the anime dating sim. It was spoiled for me.
It
For
was?
Alien Isolation.
Yes.
What do you mean it was spoiled for you?
Some fucking dickhead and some YouTube comments to an irrelevant fucking video spoiled the ending.
He wanted to research his waifu, so he tried researching his waifu.
I can assure you that wasn't the case.
We both know.
I'm sad now. What do you think happens then?
Sadness is what happens.
Damn it.
Pretty sure Farkas' heart just ripped in half because he's still watching.
Oh.
I was gonna just like finish through it and pretend like I didn't know, but like I know. I can't get it out of my head.
That sucked. Did you know about it like the night you're playing?
I mean, it happened like the day after. I mean, I would go through it and play it for the shock value, but I don't think I can put myself through that.
You're
Do
fine.
you know what happens?
Yeah, fucking. I mean, depends which one you pick, but like, it's all depressing shit.
Yeah. You just want me to fucking die.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, with this Spookfest, if I were to finish that off with that, I'd probably actually kill myself. And I have the next 3 days off. I don't want to fucking ruin my days off.
That's fine. I literally want to point out that when you disconnected, I literally went, okay, it looks like Jamal has killed himself.
I mean, honestly, my heart did rip in half. Darkwood.
Darkwood, more like shitty game.
I mean, I really wanted to play fucking .flow, but...
I'll flow into your life.
So here's the yearly conclusive tradition of fucking over Grim.
You owe me.
I owe you
He
a
owes
lot of
nothing.
things, Grim.
You do.
Jamal,
I owe you an art trade, fucking Helga, The Sims.
To be fair, Helga and Sims is kind of a community-owed thing rather than a me-owed thing.
at this point, the burdens go moved on to the people.
You know, you're not
So
wrong.
we don't need to count that.
He's taking a shot out of the fucking. Oh, dear lord. Jamal, what are we gonna do with you?
Wait, actually, do you want Darkwood or Alien Isolation?
Either or, really. I'm pretty good
Well,
with
the game's
either.
already saying Darkwood, so we're doing Darkwood.
Alright, I guess the decision is, do you want monster butt-fucking jump scares, or do you want subtle, suspense-inducing paranoia?
I mean, I just want to go to bed.
Paranoia it is.
If you add up all the previous streams I just did, fucking fixing everything up, I've maybe streamed for a total of 45 minutes tonight? J-Mo's a shitty streamer, fuck him.
Yeah, roll the shitty streamer, fuck it.
I mean, I wasn't saying it.
Adjust the slider
You were
until the
thinking.
third image on the right is barely visible. I'm changing this thing and it doesn't make any difference. Alright, I guess I'm just leaving it there. Darkwood.
So who thinks he's gonna do it?
Do what? Kill
Kill
himself
yourself?
tonight?
Yeah, probably like a chance.
Difficulty,
Like 50-50.
fucking nightmare. Death is permanent.
Can I restate? I'm gonna say 80% now.
I could feel my head moving. You are playing a challenging and unforgiving game. You will not be led by the hand. Respect the woods. Be patient. Focus. I don't even know what the fucking controls for this game is. Is this a loading screen? Oh, okay, yeah, yep, it's this right there is moving, but I can't see it that well. I really just wanted to draw a Hitler stash on me, but I don't think that's appropriate.
I mean, there was that one incident.
I like gin because it doesn't hurt my throat.
I mean, you're a
I
rare
see
case thing.
hatred and fear in the eyes. It's Helga.
Oh, that's implying in his eyes.
Look, there's a face.
Before Jamal modded this game, and
As
this
if
is
I
his
was
idea all along.
responsible for spreading the disease. As I was responsible for
Disease.
ruining Spookfest.
You were, but still. It was Japanese that did it.
Seriously, why do you have to make your fucking game goddamn region locked? Why? Why?
Good question.
I mean, Newtype, you have no good answer for that. There is no good answer.
There is no good answer.
There's really not.
The guy who fucking made .flow is laughing at me because his username is LOL. Fuck that guy.
You can ask him. He has a Twitter and he pretty much answers.
I mean, he'll just be like, "Well, you're stupid."
Don't
wanna
be
rude.
mean though.
I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
I respect his game. I don't respect his decisions to make it racist. But it's okay though. I'm playing the game I wanted to play all along, which is Darkwood.
More like Jamal has some Darkwood.
I've got alcohol distiller. Fucking. All right, for every single time this game mentions alcohol, I'm taking a swig.
Jamal, did you like the fact that on like the missing poster I put down maybe suffering from alcohol withdrawal?
You got it. Potatoes. That's vodka.
Take another shot.
Oh, pills. Fucking
Take
yeah.
another shot.
Notepad. My old notepad. Oh shit. Can I draw on this? Fuck. I want to draw. I want to draw. All right. Fuck it. Did I pick that up? Where did it go?
I don't know.
Oh, I could drag the chair. Maybe I can use the chair as part of a side quest to hang myself. There was something else that I could do on this, but I couldn't fucking... Yeah, we got the bad ending of Spookfest that ends with Brilliant Bob.
is this the neutral ending?
For producing moonshine. Let's go outside and see what's there.
Wait, Jamal, moonshine. Take another shot. Jamal. Did you hear me? You might take another drink.
Alright, my burps taste like alcoholic Fruity Pebbles. I'm not doing that anymore.
That was fast.
a creepy photo.
My tools, they've been sterilized for years. The local patients can't be helped anymore. Just like me.
Jesus. Can't be helped. I'm just gonna fucking
What
end
is
it.
that? Oh, dude, a rag.
I seen a rat.
Barricaded window. Dismantling this now would be suicide.
Do it anyway.
Wish I could. Hey, I got some kind of a notice. I don't know what it was, though. Because my phone's on the other side of the room, and it's also charging because it doesn't like to
You've
do
been
that.
banned from Twitch.
Shit. Hey. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa,
What?
whoa, whoa, whoa. That's the name of one
Whoa.
of the
Whoa.
one of the animes.
Monica.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They're all connected.
Literature
It's
Club in
all
one.
connected.
You wanna know a fun fact about fucking Doki Doki Literature Club?
What?
It's made by the guy who made Franker Face Z.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that you were talking about it. I
And
was like,
also
oh,
fucking Project M.
Yeah.
Huh.
Jack, well.
In my Twitch information, I say go thank him for... Oh, dude, there's alcohol. Fucking alcohol.
Which mod? You didn't hear the fact that there was moonshine. I remember.
No, I already drank
In my
once for that.
Okay, I was
I should not be drinking.
You don't work for 3 days.
Yeah, but I don't want to be
Everything with
drunk
you.
on Twitch again.
Again.
Oh, I just felt my stomach shift. That's a good sign.
That means it's making more room for your alcohol.
Oh.
That means perfect timing.
Alright, I'm not drinking anymore. It's bad.
You said that twice now.
But this time I'm serious because the alcohol's going over there.
What? Are you pulling a Jason yourself?
Hey, Grim,
I didn't hide it yet.
what's the Roadhog Junkrat ship called? Roadhog or Junkhog or Road Rat? Okay.
Jesus Christ, Zipper, you
I
didn't
best
click
not
that.
enter this room right now. Oh wait, I have a key. How do I inventory? How do I inventory?
It's a key item, so don't worry.
Okay, so I can't even use it. Okay.
You basically just click on the door that you want to open. What's your character doing?
Hey, I guess that's my inventory. Yeah, I'm going
Alright.
into a bag, I guess. Can I go outside this door? Nope.
The key was for the front door.
I'm at the front door now, but I can't use it.
Should be able to. Alright, well, check your inventory, I guess.
Plus icon. Oh, okay. Use key. Open. There we go. Oh, it's pretty bright outside. Oh, there's a dead dog.
I don't need a jacket.
Oh, wait, no, the dog's not dead yet. I should end his
Yeah.
suffering.
Save him! Save him!
It says I should end his suffering, though.
Find
Eat him.
something to...
Oh, I think that's a dead shot. Nope, that's a doll. Man, I don't want to kill my dog, man. How do I even kill my dog? I Like, I don't want to kill my dog. Can I craft things?
How do I craft this dog?
No, I want to set the dog on fire because I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
That'll just make it suffer more.
But what am I supposed to do? Conjure up a gun and shoot it old Yeller style?
What are the pills for?
You want me to just give my dog pills?
No.
Bill's here.
Let me out.
I like how all the pill bottles you find in Left 4 Dead just, one pill in them.
But they don't. They make a little sound for it.
No, it's implied that you eat all the pills.
You just take the entire bottle of... Okay. I'm sure that's...
I mean, if you're really in pain, like, yeah.
That would
Push
not
space
help
to
at all.
vault over obstacles.
I mean, yeah, it would end your
that's not how
suffering.
it's like that's not how painkillers work.
It does in the video game world, I guess.
In the apocalypse, yeah. When the apocalypse happens, it shifts realities.
Drag the axe. I don't have an axe.
Look for an axe.
The hammer.
It
It's the
says
same
I
thing
have an
as-
axe, but I don't have an axe.
Past the fence, there's an axe on a pile of wood logs.
Are you just
Cheating.
looking up a
You're
fucking
cheating.
guide for this?
You already played it, probably.
It's down. Go back to where your dog is.
Oh, so okay. I have to go look at my dying dog more.
Back to
Hey, these are nice plates.
Yeah, thank God Noob has his fucking plates.
Yeah,
Fuck
so
you.
see the logs down there by the car?
I found a board and a nail. Maybe I could put the nail into the board and hit my dog
There's
with
an
it.
axe.
Jesus.
Like on the stump.
Hold on, I'm reading the newspaper.
Dog died.
So, Graham, guess what?
Local man ruins Spookfest. Whole world pissed off. You know, I kind of wish I had like an actual like what's the word I'm
Following?
looking for? Yeah, following, because I would love to see like the memes that would be produced right now. I would love to see like Jamal used to be my best friend, but now Darkwood is my best friend,
I mean, that's never gonna be a thing, to be honest.
or like
Oh, God, I
a
fucking
picture
got
of the
chills, yeah.
fucking .flow developer and it just has like wanted fucked everything up. I don't see a fucking axe around here. You
everything.
lied to me.
Examine. Bah.
I also don't want to use an axe to kill my dog.
Like, it can't be picky, Jamal.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
That's fucked up. Oh my god. Let me out.
What a perfect quote to pull. It looks like that
What?
kindergartner got its face kicked in.
Keep.
Where's the axe? I do not. Oh wait, do I already have the axe? No, it's the nail. I'm drunk.
That's
Okay,
probably why you're not finding it.
I don't.
'Cause you're
Tell me
drunk.
where you see a fucking axe in this goddamn shit. Tell me. Tell me.
Past the fence, there's an axe and a pile of wood logs. That's all the instructions.
I don't see it. Oh, hey, look, an axe. To be fair, it was not where I was looking.
Yeah.
Alright, now let's go kill my dog.
Jesus.
Everyone likes boys. Alright,
The
how do
Ender's
I
spirit, even though
kill
it
my
left without saying bye.
dog?
Just walk up to it.
I don't want to walk up to the dog that I have to kill. I don't think he's going to make it. Man, the sound it's making is just sad. I hate my life.
It's how did you open the door?
What do you mean, how did I open the door? Hold it down? Like, I need to hold my dog under the water for a while. Until the bubbles stop coming up. I cannot
don't stop
interact with the
coming.
dog the same way my door did.
Alright, then maybe equip it. I don't know.
Equip the dog.
I don't think there's any way to equip things. I can only drop. But I don't want to drop my axe on my dog.
Jesus.
I can
That's
eat the
small.
pills.
What
Oh,
did it do?
okay, I ate the pills. Shit.
Let me out.
Can I drink the alcohol? I can.
Oh my god, you're gonna shut the wall.
I just took painkillers, I think. I'm regenerating health.
You're pulling a me when we were in playing that one game.
Well, I drank all of the alcohol I had, and ate all the pills I had. This is going good. I don't think I'm supposed to kill the dog with the axe. I don't think that's intended. Sorry, pal. You're just gonna have to suffer a bit longer.
Sweet cups. Oh, I actually have cups. Holy crap. Sorry, I'm unpacking this thing. I haven't had a chance to yet.
Weapon selected on your hotbar. Wait, hotbar? I have a fucking hotbar? Hold right mouse button to take aim and left mouse button to aim to attack. I did something wrong.
I imagine you're swinging your dog.
That picture I sent you, Grim, is a GIF, by the way.
Aha, I did it.
You just have to wait a few seconds for it to do something.
I did it. Wait, maybe I can kill my dog with this.
God, you're a horrible person.
I mean, that's what the game tells me to fucking do.
You're just now figuring this out.
I killed my
with him?
dog. I'm very sad that I just killed my dog.
You force button rever him?
Well, nope, I fucking hit him in the head with an axe.
I'll do it.
Well,
in effect, I guess.
There wasn't a reason to fucking kill.
Oh my god. Don't die on me, seriously. It'd be very ironic, and I could never play video games again.
Hold on.
Oh. It would be fitting for him to die during a Spookfest, though.
Note to self.
Most fitting.
Whenever drinking, don't ever try to vape and talk at the same time.
I mean...
Ow. That hurt.
Would you burp up vape?
No, I almost threw up. It's fine, though. Whew, my eyes are all watery. Ugh. I'm in pain. I'm in pain. Ow.
I'm dying. Help me.
Oh, man. The coffee fit gave me a head rush. Guess that's what half a bottle of gin does to you so far.
Jesus Christ.
Woo!
Not alcoholic, I swear.
I mean, to be fair, I don't expect this stream to last that long anyways. We started way too late. Quality.
We started way too late and you started
I'm even wearing the
early.
Twitch brand. The Twitch brand.
Brain.
The Twitch
no.
brain.
He's slurring his words.
Oh. Okay, that hurt. To access the map, I have a map? Oh, okay, I'm here. Wait, do I have a marker for my dead dog? No, I don't.
Also, Grim, thank you for reblogging that Toto's Africa was using Donkey Kong noise.
So I put this on nightmare difficulty, so if I die, that's it. I guess that's where the stream will end.
Wow, that'll be a very short stream.
Yeah. Did I start late or extremely early? I'm gonna say late.
I mean, you started very late, and you started drinking really early.
Maybe I started drinking very early.
Usually most people start drinking like halfway through a stream instead of not an hour before you start streaming.
I didn't do that. Where did I take my shit? Oh, okay, never mind. I was searching the campfire. I wanted to build the campfire. These parts of the woods are dark. I should craft a thing. Shit, I need gasoline to make a fucking torch. Where's the gasoline? Am I just a balding man? Is that my character?
You're a doctor.
A lawyer and a cop.
Well, I got some fat ass fat. Because whenever I run, it goes jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. My eyes are still watering, also. This part of the tree looks like a baked potato. Kinda want more alcohol.
Do it.
Just learn your lesson and move on.
What do you mean move on? I've already ruined
Dude.
Spookfest again. Fucking do your ranking for Spookfest from 2013 to 2017. I bet you fucking 2015 goes higher than 2017 right now.
Actually, I think the best one still has been this year.
Stop sucking up.
Oh. I just think it's actually pretty good. Nice.
Stop sucking up. Yo, I heard noises. I heard noises.
Hey, Jamal.
What? I don't know.
There you go.
I don't even know what the fuck
Hey.
I'm supposed to do. Like, I need to find gasoline, but I can't find any gasoline.
There's a car there. Can you siphon gas?
No, it's my car. There's no gas. I'm poor.
It also looks like it's tipped over.
I mean, it didn't tell me specifically I can't continue in the Darkwoods. I just cannot see.
It'll probably kill you if you go in there.
Let's do it.
Respect the woods.
Oh wait, that's a stamina bar up there. All right. I thought that was my dead dog meter.
Oh,
Keeps going up and down because he's struggling with life.
Yeah. Dude, I really want to jerk off the Lady Sylvanas right now.
Don't we all?
Ew.
Ew.
Corpse. She's
That's
she's
fine.
undead.
she has
His
maggots.
flesh
110%
falling off of her.
fine with me.
Maggoty vagina.
That's fine with me.
Do you want to take remember this thing? Yeah,
What?
Benny. Remember this thing. This man is desperate. Never touched the
Remains
Speaking of
forces.
fucking maggoty vaginas, look at this. Look at this. Corpse examined.
No mercy. Hey, look at that. That's Sylvanas.
I will never
Cool,
understand.
I'm gonna get my
I mean,
wish.
I swear straight boys will fuck anything with tits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on if you're first one, they'll fuck without tits.
I feel like I should like grab my handbag and go.
Why can't I?
I love how you're
okay.
complaining earlier that you're seeing straight porn on your Tumblr.
No, I'm in some kind of house.
You're in
All
a
I say
house?
is,
I mean, it's a destroyed
No.
house. This belonged to my
I
neighbor
don't like
named
seeing
Jim.
those vajayjays.
He's dead.
just say if you want to fuck Sylvanas, you're not. You're.
I mean, the cold numbs the pain.
Listen, for a zombie undead lady, she's thick. She is thick.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
Not. She's twinkish as can be.
That's
Depends on
fine.
the
It's
pictures
still
you look at.
fine by me. At least the art I saw online was thick. Oh, dude, there's a dead guy. Or dying guy. You're unconscious. I'm taking your thing.
All I'm going to say is, as long as
shit, I got
she's
a
not
cutscene.
undead, she's fine.
Well,
Oh, he's unconscious. I've never seen him around here before. He's probably a fucking immigrant.
Oh,
Coming
Oh.
to take my fucking jobs. He's only carrying a key in some journal. He wears a fedora. He has a body pillow in his inventory.
I can't believe you're in the game, Jamal.
Yeah, it's me. Of course, he won't help me voluntarily.
fucking.
So I injected him with drugs. Oh
Might
no, am I
actually
gonna
shit.
stab him in the eye? Or is that his asshole? I can't tell.
Yes.
The art really needs to differentiate itself. I need to get out of this accursed
Do you
forest.
play as a bad guy in this fucking game?
You're not. You're just surviving.
Yeah, the man just injected him his eyeball with stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, he's. You're
he's dying.
weird.
I sometimes hear her voice, my dead wife and my dead dog. They're fucking.
Oh,
It's the plot of Family Guy.
I mean, kind of. Remember that episode of Brian died and never got tattoos of him?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Oh shit, I tied this guy up. Sub the Mastaonion.
Never. I'd rather die.
Play.flow. Slap. Play.flow.
Make Spookfest better again.
Or like, make Spookfest better, period.
I'll kill you like a dog if I have to. Well, get the axe out.
Jesus.
Oh,
Shit, I'm a bad man.
Get the spot remover. Also, I point something out. So we're having a game night at work. And
What, do
everyone
I
has to
play
write
as
down
me again?
I love gay nights.
That fucker stole my... Okay, now I play as this man.
And
Hey, I don't feel bad about killing my dog anymore. Because it's not my dog anymore. Fuck that dog.
Oh. No, but I wrote down that I have a Switch and I have
Got some
a
bandages.
PC.
I have no
And my
bandages.
manager looks at me and goes, "Me, I didn't figured you'd be a Switch." And I'm like, "Please, phrasing." She's like, "Oh, whoops."
Oh,
Oh wait, I do have bandages.
She's like, "What do you?" She's like, "What do you mean?" She said something and goes, "Oh."
Nope, that's not how I bandage. That's how I bandage.
Like, you know, she's kind of like the mom of the work. If that makes sense. Like everyone, every work has a place that like that makes her the mom. I'm guessing new types of that mom.
Yeah, I was about to say, Grimm's our fucking mom. Scolding me for
funny.
doing terrible things.
Which makes me the stepdad.
Andor's our real dad.
I mean, it's funny because it's like we have joint custody. We see him twice a week.
don't talk to your father like that.
He's not my real dad. Can I hit this
Wait
with a
till I
shovel?
come home. Take the belt off.
Oh, oh, oh!
There you go, 2 ways.
Yeah, I didn't think that one through.
One of my keys.
I opened up
keys,
this
I
with
mean-
a shovel.
One of my keys came off.
Whoa. My waifu's name left the thing.
Kill him. The doctor's behind you.
No, he's not. Not yet,
You
anyhow.
literally just saw him in the living room.
I did not see him in the living room. Is this even the living
you-
room? Is
you
he gonna put
little
me in the
bitch.
cage? Oh shit, there's a thing. Oh, I got this.
Dude, you saw him for a split second, then for some reason...
I didn't see it, it's not fucking canon. Shit.
God damn it,
See,
Joel.
you were gonna do Spookfest drunk no matter what.
Fuck. Please let
He
me
can
out.
hear you.
Let me out.
He can hear...
He can't hear shit. It's safer here.
You have chosen. I've been chosen. Also, apparently people are freaking out about the Last of Us 2 trailer. About how like horrible it is.
I saw it, yeah.
I mean, it's fucked up, but I mean, it's good.
That's good. It's fucked
Everyone's
up.
like, everyone's like, it's too fucked up. It's horrible. I'm like, no, it's
What?
it's Last.
Oh. Yeah, it's... Let's play some Friday the 13th.
Life must suck to basically. I had to literally bitch about everything.
I have the feeling the code is actually here somewhere.
Look around.
I'm looking.
Look harder.
I'm looking.
Look harder!
Isn't that like, the code right in the fucking paper?
Harder, boy.
Mother!
I do not see the code. Unless the code is something deciphered on this. Let me out! No, shit. But... Yo, I heard some noises. What was that? Who's there? Someone to come to fuck me? Somebody want my little boy pussy? Hey, I can move this. And I can open this. Is the doctor man in here? I need to get a checkup. I need to get my
Show where you're gonna shove your shovel.
gynecology.
Hey, Grim, you want to explore the catacombs of Paris?
Is that a euphemism?
I'd love to be demonically fucked by whatever's down there. Yeah.
Hey!
Is it Benny?
Found a table leg and
Penny,
some gas.
people have died down there.
I know. That's why they're scary. It's just a giant, sprawling, literal maze.
Oh god, they changed Mercy again.
Honestly, oh yeah, they nerfed her.
What?
They-
What'd they do?
Mercy now has a 1.1 minute, sorry, was it 1 second and 75, sorry, 1.75 second cast time on Resurrect now.
Equip the gasoline tank.
Oh.
Mercy's movement speed is decreased by 75% while casting and can be interrupted, knocked back, and stunned or hacked.
Overwatch is
Oh.
Rip Andar.
I mean, Andar's been ripped for a while.
I mean, she was pretty OP, but I felt like they needed to bring this up to her level rather than nerf her.
I did it. I made the generator.
See, I like the idea where if you were Zenyatta and you threw a ball orb on somebody
Oh,
and
guys,
they
something's
died
about to
while
happen.
orbed, you could res them.
Something's about to happen. Stop talking about shit.
Oh.
So I turned on the generator and there's a dead body where that radio was.
The radio's now body.
Oh, he's gone now.
Eat him.
Still don't know what the code is.
What is the
What
code?
What do you mean? What are
You
your
should have
numbers?
checked the dead body for the code.
4892.
4892. 4892.
Where'd you learn that?
The corpse told me. I did it. The door seems stuck. Oh, I need to apply force. I did it. Help me. Who's saying that? Oh shit. Bitch dick. Fuck you. Fuck you. I said fuck you. I said fuck you. Okay. He hits hard. Fuck this guy. Do I have any more bandages, I wonder? Oh, no. Okay, I'm gonna die. Never mind, I killed him. He's dead. He is a plastic chick. Okay. Nice. Spookfest is not over yet. It's not over until the fat lady burps. Why is that dead body laughing? I don't know why, but I'm thinking like a dead body just Titus laughing. Hear it? I'm going insane. Oh
Maybe
no.
he's not dead.
no.
Maybe he's like on the ground.
No, his name is Dead Man.
Oh, what the hell is that?
Something's happening.
Scared.
Oh no. Did I get the bad ending? Oh, there was a prologue. Okay. That was the prologue, I guess. I did it. Spookfest is over. Roll credits. Fucking hanging out. Hanging out. Hanging out with my family.
You didn't beat it
ourselves a
yet.
party. I did it. I beat the game.
I love this
Chapter
Tumblr
1.
post. when you try to replay a PlayStation 1 game but the nostalgia has worn off, you all so ugly.
I too love
Yeah,
Tumblr. It's one of my favorite websites on the planet of Earth.
You have 2 blogs on
A
it.
pleasant warmth is emanating over the oven. I can sense a strange yet familiar scent. It's a scent of protective substance, which gives me relative safety in the dark. The vapors rising from the huge cauldron are distributed all over the house via long pipes. As long as I remain inside my hideout, I have a chance of surviving the night. Examine the oven or look at the weird bottle. should I do, guys? Look at the weird bottle?
Look at the bottle.
The label on the bottle says, staying out of reach of the protective substance after nightfall results in immediate death in 99 out of 100 cases. It is advised to evenly spread the gas inside the sleeping area. Warning, even a properly prepared substance does not guarantee 100% safety. Remain vigilant. It is recommended to stay well lit indoors in order to maximize the risk. Minimize the risk. Examine the oven. When I arrived here a couple days ago, the oven was basically prepared. I just needed to light it and ensure my safety at night. The cottage must be one of our hideouts. The inhabitants of these woods don't need to inhale the revolting gas. Look inside the pot. A small empty cast iron pot. I haven't used it yet. I haven't felt any hunger or thirst since the accident a few days ago. I can't stop thinking about one thing. These mushrooms, these red pulsating mushrooms, they look tasty. I never want to hear the phrase red pulsating mushrooms again. Maybe this pot will prove useful after all. Cook. Oh, dude, I can cook. I don't have anything to cook with, so fuck that. What do I have in here? I want to take that, and I want to take that, and I want to take that. Photo of a road. I like this Windows XP background. It's one of my favorites. Yesterday, I barricaded one of the windows. If I want to stay here for some time, I should do the same with other windows. Workbench. I can't do anything with that. I need to find some wood. Oh god, what is that sound? Oh god, large mushrooms. Let's take them. They sound like popcorn. Also, I have no idea what the fuck popcorn's supposed to sound like. Antidote. I made antidote out of the mushrooms.
So wait, mushroom antidote? So it's Terraria?
I guess so. This is just like
Get the
Minecraft.
fuck.
I like Minecraft. Let's try the same code. 4892. Damn. I'm surprised my drunk mind can fucking remember that. Hey, what are you? Are you a rat? I want to touch you. 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 You can cook the mushrooms. I'll keep that note in mind. I don't know what I'm doing. You're supposed to play a completely different game tonight, but you know what? This will do. Hey, corpse. Torch. Matchstick.
Hey, Grim. That's what I found.
What?
A halo.
Like, what kind?
A giant ring world.
Oh, holy shit.
Artificial, but is completely shattered.
Oh.
What are you playing?
Oh shit, there's something
Hilarious.
there that'll kill me. Oh god.
Apparently, I've researched mega engineering, which is something
Alright,
further up
I need
ahead.
to hide inside of my house, otherwise I will die. Alright.
And invest a lot of resources.
Hmm.
Oh dude, there's a bed. Can I sleep in it? I want to go to sleep. Rope to hang myself, alcohol to drink, a bottle, and a book about mushrooms. That looks very lewd. The title reads the use of mushrooms in the household. Alright. Guess that's all I can do with that. But hey, I can make some bandages. We can make bandages. Bandages with alcohol? Everything's better with alcohol. Ugh. Drink a
I
lot of
wanna
gin
do
tonight. I know you wanna do it too.
I know.
Oh, drag. I mean, stool I can drag.
Drag queens, more like. Ew.
Ew.
Do you ever just like lay down and realize, man, my bed is.
Yeah, I'm wanting to experience that soon.
I'm so lucky my TV is just like right next to my bed. I can just lay down. By the way, if I start snoring, pick me up.
That means I'm so boring that I
Waking
put you to
up
sleep.
inside.
Oh, I like it. I like watching you suffer through this.
It puts me to sleep. Oh, dude, I found a
You can
fucking
make that a quote.
moonstone.
From
What is that?
Grimwood. Stuff.
I like watching you suffer.
I'm pretty sure that's already a quote, actually. Poisonous mushrooms. Okay, I stepped in the poisonous mushrooms. I guess
Oh,
I might
it's
as well
like the
use
Adventure
that
Zone.
antidote.
Yeah, the Adventure Zone. Remember the first mission? They stepped through that cave full of poisonous mushrooms that spawn spores when they talk.
How do I use this? How do I use this? There we go. Drink the antidote. Or the antidote! Alright, poisonous things make me suffer. Good to know.
like League of Legends chat or the Reddit of Overwatch.
Or my stream.
That too.
Broken tree. Can I do anything with the broken tree? No. This is a fucking great overworld. Oh, there's a thing in there. Is that a dog? Well, whatever it is, it's freaky. Oh, dude, I got some boards. I dropped the board. Where did I put it? Oh, I dropped the nails, too. Alright, fuck this. I'm running back home. Fuck this shit. Remember, I've got one life here, man.
You gonna go until it's gone?
Yeah, once it's dead, I'm done.
Treasure it, Jamal. Treasure.
I smell like beef. I smell like beef.
Ah.
I smell like beef. Oh shit, there's a dog there. I smell like dying. Alright, what do I have here? What is that? Scrap metal? Good. Good.
Here you go, Jamal.
If you're posting something in
Talk to
Discord, I actually cannot see it right now.
Talk to
That's
that
okay.
lady you've been ignoring.
It's just
Fuck
to
them,
smell
dude.
like beef, girl.
Talk to what I've been ignoring?
That lady.
What lady?
You pat.
I'm past a
I
lady.
wasn't imagining that, was I?
There was no lady.
Jamal, I swear there was.
There is no lady. Unless you have some sort of insider knowledge that I don't know about yet.
Nah, I know there are random NPCs and that's about it.
I did not see a lady.
Jamal.
If it was, I would have probably asked it out by now.
I don't know, man. You kind of skipped that living room guy too during the prologue.
Listen, that's irrelevant. That didn't happen. It wasn't canon.
I think the game makes you see things.
I see a lot of things, man. I see an awful streamer. Lower left-hand corner of the stream, surrounded by things that say RIP. It's just foreshadowing to the next plot point. You know, where I tragically kill myself and nobody cares.
Would it be tragic if no one?
I mean, it'd be tragic. Like, it's an inner monologue kind of thing, man. I mean, I could talk to this tractor and then also dead bodies over there. I want the tire. I want to make a nice tire hang. Really put my garden together. Get some rope to hang myself with. It can go well with my tire hang.
Ah, good old fatalist humor.
Okay, controlled dodges, by the way.
Like Dark Souls dodge?
No, more like a Legend of Zelda, like hold down Z and then hit A, going backwards.
Hey.
I had boards. There they are. Nails. Nice. 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 Oh shit. Please don't fuck me. Please don't fuck me. Oh no. It's fucking me.
No. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Too late.
I know.
2 days, today. I also want to point out I fucking heard a cover of Wonderwall playing at work the other day.
Oh no.
I didn't know there were covers of Wonderwall, actually.
Why would you not think?
I mean, I didn't know there was one that played on our fucking radio. I sat there and listened to the fucking lyrics and I was like, is that... Oh no. And I heard today.
By now.
Bye now, na 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 now, now, na na now, na na now, na now. Everybody should feel the way that I do. Do 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 do. Something but beep 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 beep.
I need you to rap about Darkwood.
Yo, motherfuckers, let me tell you a tale. Something Darkwood is really good. Wood good, huh? Get it? You know I can't rap. It's the second shiny stone I found. I need to level up my Gengar so I can evolve it. That's not how Pokemon works.
So, Warthog, what do you think is going to get announced at
BlizzCon?
Probably
this weekend?
For WoW.
I'm placing a
be
bet
good.
on a new Overwatch character. It's been a while.
I never watched
Gonna
the character
say-
yet, definitely.
Yeah, Overwatch Hero. Probably
hot
some Heroes of
shot.
the Storm here.
Dude, is that a fucking deer or is that... Oh shit, it's pissed off at me. Fuck this.
Oh
I
shit!
bet a Hearthstone expansion.
Probably, unfortunately.
Fuck the
Rangeval?
wildlife.
It's a moose. It's not a deer. It's a meese.
It's a meese.
I think we'll get a... It's not how... Never.
Announcing the
Yeah,
new...
meese. That's the plural of moose, right?
Announcing the
The
new
plural of
Overwatch
moose-
hero. It's a
moose is
fucking
moose.
moose.
You know it's
Meese.
not.
Wait, maybe I
Meeses.
could bait it. Hey, fuck you. Oh shit, this takes way too long to set up. Okay, fuck this. Alright, never mind. Oh shit, it's still following me.
I think we'll
it's
announce
still
anything
following
completely out
me.
of left field, like Warcraft
Probably
4 or something.
God, no, probably not.
That makes me sad.
Did a good thing. Quickly produce moonshine. Let's drink it. I like
Oh,
how
girl, I was wondering
moonshine
all that
heals me
shit. Why,
faster
that's
than
great.
bandages.
Yay! I was wondering what all the traffic was around work.
I don't have any skills to
Apparently-
use yet. Are there skills?
Jamal, you know where Rivers Casino is, right?
Yes.
I think someone jumped off the fucking bridge and I'm there and
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
where do those rocks come from?
Oh, that's what you were owing about.
Oh shit, that's where the dogs are. Those dogs are pissed off at me. I killed a dog. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can sneak past the moose. The Mussolini. And before there's a second moose that will fuck me up. Look at this. I'm rich. Moving this chair so I can get a better view of the shit.
Of the meese?
Yeah, the meese. Oh, dude, some rags. Oh, fucking medium caliber magazine. That's great. I have a full inventory now. That's good. You know, fuck it, get rid of the tire. There's probably no use for it. Can I, like, sneak past here? I want to
I don't know.
sneak past
Can
here.
you? Would I? Would you?
Would I?
Would you?
Would I?
Would you?
Would I?
Would you?
Whoa. Look at that. Tell you what, Grim, since I feel like bad about blue balls on you 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
Probably a few years before that too, if you want to count other things.
Homie.
I will attempt to set up a virtual machine and try streaming Dufflo that way. Not tonight though, because I'm too fucking angry. Oh shit! I think I'm fucked here, boys. Unless I can beat the shit out of this dog with a torch. Fuck it. Alright. Fuck off. The torch went out, but the dog is dead. Oh, dude, meat! Killed a dog again. Puts my death toll up to 2. It fucking came at me, man. What was I supposed to do? Let it kill me and end the stream? Oh, I should have done that.
You're like the rednecks from South Park. Look out! It's coming right for us!
I pretty much am a redneck from South Park. Look at me.
Oh.
All I'm missing is the handlebar mustache. Wait a second. If I can...
Please draw yourself.
Too late. There we go. Did that even show up? Yeah, kinda. Fuck it. Entertaining. I could have used the red Sharpie that's right next to me, but I didn't. Is it still on me? I can't tell. Can't even see it on the stream either, so it's fine. It's fine by me. Fine by me. Also, Noob, since it hasn't been said on stream yet, happy birthday.
Thanks.
Even though it's November now, but fuck you.
Fine, I don't hit my limit.
Should have started streaming earlier if you... Oh shit, the moose!
Happy birthday.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Do I have a journal?
Isn't that kind of the point? You don't know what you're doing?
Yeah, but like, I want to make progress, god dang it.
Hell, listen to the cat.
I need to go to page 69. It's empty. Can I go to page 420? Is there a 420?
So, allow me to give you some instructions. A good way to find out more about stuff is to head to a place where all historical records are kept about the history.
Hold on, I gotta find page 420.
Alright.
Maybe there's weed there.
So, Grim, guess what I made?
What?
Something I kind of need at the moment. A clone army.
Oh shit.
And they're actually better than a traditional soldier.
A traditional soldier?
Yeah. I know exactly what I'm going to do right now in this war. That some guy attacked me. Which is take as many planets as I can, and after this war is over, and the peace treaty is over, go to war against them again for attacking me,
This is the worst
subjugate
weed
them,
plant
and
ever.
rename the species Jamal, and turn them into veal.
No.
Turn me in the veal, baby.
Yeah.
End world
Yeah,
hunger
name-
with me.
I'm going to rename the species after Jamal and turn them into veal.
Weed. Alright, fucking video games, I guess. Oh shit, now I'm back on... Hey, wait. Page 404, nothing found. Ah! I'm entertaining. Oh, I should have done something with page 666. I'm very tired.
We can tell.
I'm gonna at least make it another half an hour so I can end the stream off at 4:20. Just like tradition. I mean, so far I've already drank half a bottle of gin and wrote on myself, so... Just hoping in the next 40 minutes I don't do something stupid.
Drink more.
No. It's the most I've drank since the fucking night I got shit-faced on stream.
Hey, Jamal.
No.
No, I just want to do something.
Oh, shit, dogs.
Is there alcohol near you?
There's plenty. There's at least 4 different types of alcohol. There's vodka, there's whiskey, there's Kahlua, and gin.
Let me
And
know
also
when
I
you're
got
in a
some
safe spot.
Coors Light. Okay, I'm in a safe spot. Let's go. What do you want me to do?
Okay, grab the bottle.
Alright, hold on. Alright, I got my bottle of gin, which is looking pretty empty there.
Uncork. Take the top off
Alright.
and drink some. Oh my god.
Ugh.
Oh.
Oh, you're drunk.
Oh. Why does it taste like Fruit Loops?
So, if anyone doesn't know, Jamal can reach out now, but that Jamal did the exact same thing to me when I was drinking a lot, except for I didn't drink because I wasn't drunk.
I mean, I still remember myself right now.
But I like the fact that you literally didn't fall for that, but you got me.
I mean, I know what I'm doing. Remember, as an alcoholic, I can hold my liquor.
That's debatable.
Famous last words.
It really is.
Listen, I set up a hotkey to turn off the stream immediately if I do something stupid.
I mean,
I just have to remember to
you
hit the hotkey.
yeah, but
I think you would have ended it already then.
I mean, I
mean,
probably
since
would
day
never
one.
even started the streaming, actually. I mean,
up there for here.
oh shit, I stepped in poisonous mushrooms again. Fuck my life.
Rather not.
I don't have any lockpicks. I don't have any lockpicks.
Sledgehammer. Oh, I forgot I had the sledgehammer key. Shit.
I don't know. Oh fuck, there's a moose. I think I escaped it.
You never truly escape the moose. He just lets you go.
Oh fuck, no, okay, he's somewhere. I don't know where he is though. He sounds pissed off too. Okay, he's inside of me. Please have mercy, moose.
No.
What the fuck is that? The moose turned into Satan! Oh no!
Oh no.
As it turns out,
Oh, no.
the moose and Satan have teamed up. They're not one entity. Oh no. It's over. It's over.
Died?
Not yet, but I'm about to. Fucking, oh no, the devil tapeworms. I'm
no.
poisoned.
No. I'm about to die.
I'm not going down without a fight. No. And it's over now.
Aw.
I got turned into some raspberry jam.
That's like the plot of Romantically Apocalyptic.
I'm looking at a thing of spaghetti, I think. Days survived 1. I have died.
It's over now, isn't
I'm
it?
so good at the game, so good enough that I rate it 10 out of 10. My experience, 100%. Emoji fire, and then the thumbs up thing. It's good.
Oh, that's a big battle.
I did it. What the fuck? Oh, okay. I'm retarded. All right, I'm getting a bit too drunk. I need to end the stream.
Aw.
Sorry.
The drunk Jamal stream.
Drunk streams for me are not fun and not recommended, so let's not do that tonight, at least. But in the meantime, let's make a hold on screen. Wait, no. This is how the stream's gonna end. Me making a brand new live AFK screen. Live
Well,
on Twitch.
You're good at doing those.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just become a graphic designer for that and that only.
Onion. It's unfortunately the color white does not show up in this, by the way. Alright, next up is inebriate. That color's too dark to show up on the stream. That color's also too dark to show. Okay, he will be brown.
Oh.
Not in that way though. Alright, and then I gotta get his sword. And then he has eyes. Wee. Okay, Pimsy time, yeah. Fucking. And then I gotta get his monocle. And then his mutton stash. His skin. Alright. It's going good so far. Let's put an outline on inebriate there. Alright, next up is Inigo, which is purple. He's a little purple cat. He's got a little thing. There we go. And then my main man, Richard Butt, who is dark blue. That's not really a dark blue, but it works. I've turned in the fruit, I think.
Oh no.
And
That
there's
really
his
bad.
gun. It looks like he's just giving me a thumbs up or holding out his dick. I don't know. Alright, now we gotta draw me. There's my eyes. Fucking looking grade A right there. My mouth, which is sad. Really sad. There we go. Now I gotta do my body, which I normally never wear maroon, because it reminds me of my sad shop and save attire, but there we go.
Creepy shop and save.
There's my vape. There we go. And here's a vape cloud. Fuck it, I don't want to keep the vape cloud. That doesn't look immersive. Alright, now I gotta draw Goopy, who's green. And he's holding his grilled cheese sandwich. That kind of looks like the fucking Re-Dead mask from Ocarina of Time. There's that, and then there's...
I'm best man as a professional artist.
I am a graphic designer.
Close enough, right?
Graphic design is my passion.
She's a 9 to 5 with evil up inside her, just graphic designer. There we go. Alright, now I gotta do Helga, the main staple of my channel, whose hair is now spaghetti noodles.
Hey, Jamal.
Yeah.
Pick up the bottle.
No. Not anymore. No. It's not even near me right now.
Jamal, go pick up the
No.
bottle.
Fuck you. Let me finish my art first.
I'm gonna to work. I bet you won't go pick up that bottle.
Let me finish my work first, and I'll do the meme.
Hey, man.
Oh, you guys are so awful to each other.
Alright, I did it. There we go, AFK screen. Yeah, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Spookfest, which was a fucking disaster.
Oh.
I don't know if you keep the microphone or not.
smell like me.